Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another scene set in in That's the Dark Crusade. I'll never stop making that error. Season 2. Set our scene once again on the Fourth Day of Elysium. What a long road it has been. And we are only barely past the halfway mark. As the Canaanites of the city gather once more, of many cities gather once more, to feast and gossip and politic amongst each other. And with that, many of the Elysium's most regular visitors rejoin it once more. And before these characters introduce themselves, it should be noted there is one minor difference to this day than the last. In that there is generally less Canaanites around. Perhaps because it's been like a 4-day run that there are just less visitors this time around. There's less Canaanites in general. It's still fairly busy, but there's less Canaanites. It's a bit more it's a bit more at peace, but there's still quite a lot of Canaanites here. Oh, my pretties, introduce yourselves.
Well, the seneschal of Timuran is currently, making her rounds as she normally does. She arrived with Torvald, but he has been left to his own, well, to himself for the moment, as she greets the people that she has seen, probably, as was stated before, regularly these last few nights. She's making sure that the keeper is comfortable, and probably the first one she greets. And then she makes her round, politely greeting everyone.
I think Irene does. Not quite sure. I think Irene would be making her rounds as well, but she's probably gonna see what the general reaction of the room is, since she knows I mean, she doesn't think she really did a bad, but she knows she did something that is not according to usual etiquette the last time.
He stepped out of normal protocol.
So yeah, thank you for that. So I think she's just kind of like, checking the room, saying, giving her hellos and stuff to the people that she knows, that she recognizes, and but yeah, is trying to see, like, are people judging her? Are people like, like turning away from her, or the other way around? So yeah, that's what she's doing.
When Memnon comes on the scene, he arrives this time by himself. And I suppose he would just take in any congregates that are on the outside of this castle in Timuran. He has in mind a question when he had seen, but maybe not had introduced himself to the keeper of the Elysium. But yeah, he would mostly try to keep an eye out also for many of his clanmates. His previous conversations with some of them leads him to believe that as the Elysium goes on, perhaps there might be more tensions escalating.
Perhaps because there are less Cainites in the room, it's a bit less apparent this time. But yeah, if anyone wants to gauge kind of the room's tone and atmosphere, or kind of seek out some of the local gossip, just roll me perception politics.
Ooh, okay. Let's see. What are my politics? I got 4 successes on that.
Okay.
3 here.
We'll start with 3 successes. You rolled very well. Madeleine. So there's a lot of gossip about what was going on last night. Obviously, it appears tensions haven't divested fully, but it appears the Tremere seem to be more comfortable, kind of reaching out to people than they were the evenings prior. You notice some of their detractors are kind of less vocal, and there's less of them in general. There's some gossip around Irene, a little bit negative, particularly among the Ventru and some of the more hardline traditionalists, feeling she stepped way out of line by talking to an elder, by challenging him, by disrespecting him. That she's just seeking attention, that she's exploiting the spirit of Elysium. She's using technicalities to further her own and her clan agenda. That she's basically just a puppet for the clan. But it's largely positive, particularly among, obviously, the many neonates and the younger ancilla, of which are, frankly, the vast majority of this Elysium, because there aren't that many elders, in truth. But they very much find for the notion of a young Cainite not only being listened to, but being able to stand up for themselves refreshing. They found her speech very compelling, very convincing. They very much appreciate her like kind of the more apolitical stance that she was pushing, and as such has kind of spilled over. Like, they're not really sure what to think of Clan de Sombre and Clan Tremere, but I mean, at least they seem to have the right ideas. At least they seem to be listening to us for once. You know, they're talking about how Irene is someone they could get behind. Some are kind of obviously positively talking about Ulrich as a result as well, because, you know, they're kind of attributing some of the positive traits that the speech, the kind of the display that Irene put on is credit to Ulrich rather than Irene, but it's largely positivity regarding Irene, and how they're this is someone who speaks sense. This is someone they can get behind, and if if more Sombra think like her, they definitely feel like they could get behind her in the clan. But whether they do think like her remains to be seen. But hey, if she and her are any indication, that sort of thing. Irene, you get all of that. You also get that the one second as I look something up for y'all. You're hearing a lot of things about what happened last night, and sort of the more immediate events, like such as your speech and Clan Tremere and the reaction from the crowds, the bystanders. But you also begin to hear about a little bit about what's kind of been going on in the background, some kind of rumors and gossip flying around. You hear some rumors about Praxis and how some Canaanites are fairly interested in why that issue hasn't been broached yet, because why wouldn't that be the first? Obviously, a lot of solutions can be proposed, but they can't be enforced if there is no prince. They'd be nothing more than anarchists. So it seems to be a question on a lot of people's minds right now. And you hear it seems that while there are the obvious contenders, many people think the Seneschal will run, the former Seneschal will run. And a lot of people seem to think that he has some sort of arrangement in place already. There's a lot of gossip surrounding him having had a talk with the Ravnos. Some people say the Assamites are also seem to be more friendly with La Sombra than before. They reference your retrieval of one of their neonates in this case. And obviously they reference this bourgeois outsider. But there's also something interesting you pick up. In that, in this kind of discussion that you're just kind of overhearing, someone says, well then what about the Ventru? Who this doesn't account for the Tremere and the Venture and the Toreador. It would be fairly absurd if they weren't to put up one of their own. And as this conversation kind of continues, you kind of hear from a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy. Apparently they seem to be perusing potential Canaanites to claim the Praxis for this area. One of them goes, well, Herman went like that. But it seems as if Clan Ventru might be actually undermining their own primogen to get someone to claim Praxis.
Huh.
Is the rumor.
She'll file it away under potential useful information.
And then you hear about you again. You hear about yourself. You hear about the rumors surrounding the Seneschal. And talking about how the Seneschal must have been pleased. That meeting about went as perfectly as it could have. But the La Sombra and the Tremere are growing of each other over the Ventru. That seems to signify good things for the La Sombra and not for the other clans. You do hear some gossip about the Salubri, but nothing really relevant. Just kind of questions like, what's going to happen to the Salubri now, sort of thing.
Speaking of Salubri, is Abraham still present, or has he been present at all?
Yeah, he is present. Or he was. He's not here tonight.
God damn it!
I don't think you know any other healers, do you?
No.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to tell then unless they had their third eyes out.
Yeah, plus that. I mean, yeah, she might just look around for one of them. Like, she would hear a conversation of one of them. She might. But yeah.
Are you looking for in particular? You want to chat with anybody?
One person I wanted to chat with is not there.
But yeah, you scared him off.
It didn't.
Yes, he did. Yeah, so you're just kind of wandering around.
Yeah. She'll make small talk with like the neonates, especially if they're like, pleased with what she did. It's kind of like, making acquaintance to neonates of different clans and such like that. Things like that.
Yeah. What are the rest of the what is the rest of this party doing?
Madeline, for her part, is looking over the guests. What of the people that she knows normally are present? Like, I'm guessing Asamites and Ravenous, Gangrel, perhaps.
You notice that these three clans seem to be in a healthy way here.
She suspected as much. Does she recognize any Cappadocians here?
Let's see. You are something of a. You've been in the city for a long time, so you probably know most of the Cappadocians. Yes, you. Did you see that Hesperos is here?
Ooh, oh, that's been a while.
You also noticed that Lady Astor is here as well, and Anne.
Well, she will go over to Hesperos and show him the respect due. They are old acquaintances, but yeah, it will be mostly small talk, hoping that he is well and good here, and but she will go over to Anne actually.
Memnon would gravitate towards his clanmates as him being still fairly the newest amongst them in the city. He would probably start with Sister Madeline and just kind of ease his way into her line of view, if just to see if the conversation that she might be having with someone is intense or private.
Well, if at the current moment, she is speaking with Hesperos. You would be able to see that he is definitely, well, most likely to be of Clan Cappadocia. And yeah, I don't know if do you want to describe him?
So Hesperos is a fairly old man. In his shall I say, like early 60s. Kind of wearing long robes and a hood. Has his hood down for this particular occasion. A bit dusty because of the long road, but other than that, looks fairly well kept. He doesn't particularly he doesn't seem to stand out all that much. He seems to fit into the crowd just fine. He seems very much like just another amiable guest in a way.
Memnon, you will hear that one of the things is Madeline, maybe it sounds like she's done it before, but she seems to express grief in the fact that they have lost an elder of their clan, the prince. She is bringing her condolences, it seems.
Memnon would he would catch try to catch Sister Madeline's attention coming at the tail end of her sentence and just say, excuse me, Sister Madeline, I hate to interrupt. I just wanted to announce myself to your presence.
Oh, I'll consider it.
By all means, I'm interrupting, of course, Lady Seneschal.
Oh, well, have you been introduced?
He'll look to the gentleman she was talking to. I don't think I have. The name is Memnon.
He is a neonate of my clan. This is Hesperos of Athens. And Scylla, clan Cappadocia. An old friend.
A pleasure to meet you.
Hesperos of Athens. Well, that makes two Greeks amongst us. It is an honor to make your acquaintance.
I find the Silk Road is something of a nexus where all clans find some way to find each other.
Yes, it is a great well of opportunity for congregation.
Very much so. Although things seem ever so much more set in stone as they were 100 years ago.
At least in this city. Memnon, is there anything you require of me, or did you merely wish to announce your presence? Not that I do not appreciate it.
Well, sister, being new not just to this existence and the city, just see if I can make myself useful. As my profession goes, it is unusual that I find myself not at task.
Why? She nods to Hesperos and just, please enjoy your evening. But clan business I must attend to. And she smiles. And she will just look to Memnon. She'll just, would you walk with me?
Of course.
I understand that the craft you have. They're walking very slowly. And she just says, I understand that the craft you have had and the circumstances with which you came here means that you are less prone to socializing.
Exactly. I find people only to be a matter of ability. Present company included. But I am not one for idle gossip and chatter.
More. Do consider that such chatter seem as good manners in some aspects of society.
is not the morality of it. Simply, perhaps I lack a certain amount of patience, but more expedient courses I have my taste when it comes to dealing with obstacles and problems.
Well, I can respect that. I would say that in certain situations, your approach would be quite effective. Sometimes we must challenge ourselves. Sometimes we must do exactly what we find hard. How would you improve your smithing, your armory skills, if you do not press yourself? How can you improve yourself as you're in the standing of the clan and help the clan if you do not diversify, shall we say?
That is a true and fair point.
I started my mortal life as a cloistered sister. Politics is not something they teach. Languages, perhaps. I had to learn pretty much everything about this world when I was thrown out of the cloister. I would advise you to seek knowledge wherever you can. I can help you, of course, with this, if you are willing.
But of course, knowledge is but a form of power, a different aspect.
Quite so. Ah, and they are moving over towards Anna at this point. Um, Anna is a woman that looks, well, she doesn't look, well, she, like, clothing-wise, I think she looks pretty much like Madeline.
Yeah, she actually looks surprisingly similar to Madeline in a lot of ways. Her hair is perhaps less wavy.
And she, of course, she's very corpse pale because she's Cappadocian, but
Yeah, she's much more pale than Madeline, who looks quite healthy. Yeah, Anne has a lot of the corpse-like traits.
Madeline comes over and she said, Anne, so good to see you. And she comes over and hugs her and kisses both of Anne's cheeks.
Yeah, she reciprocates.
It is a shame we have not talked too much these common nights. I have a story to tell you. In due time, of course. May I introduce to you the newest arrival to Edessa, Memnon, neonate of Clan La Sombra. This is Anne, and Scylla, Clan Cappadocian, as well as Hesperos, a very dear friend.
It's an honor to make your acquaintance.
Likewise. Well, how are you finding your evening? Is there anything I can do for you? She says to Memnon.
Well, I am interested in meeting like-minded scholars amongst our kind here in Odessa. I am no scholar myself, but I have a thirst for knowledge, and I find that perhaps, considering the state of our city, in the pursuit of knowledge and the enlightenment of truth, people are often placated.
Well, teaching comes in many ways. I do believe I will speak to you later of this. Yes, and there is something I would speak to you about in private, of course. It is not of any immediate concern. A joyous news.
Sweeping me off my feet already, I see.
As always. And at this time, I do believe that we will switch because some people are entering Elysium at this time.
Yes, and I believe this is the Garnet's first time here.
Yep.
Okay, so when you make your way over into Timurin, you're allowed in through the city gates. It's a walled town. It's a fairly large walled town. It's not city size, but it's quite a large town. You are permitted entry. You're able to ride on through town. What you kind of notice in town is well, in a lot of ways, nothing much. This town seems very very normal. Something that kind of sticks out to you kind of as you ride on through is the town seems very much at peace with itself. Doesn't seem to be a lot of overt activity. A lot of people seem quite happy, even overtly friendly. Like some of them kind of react to your presence and kind of wave at you as you go on by.
He'll wave back merrily as he's walking.
Yeah, it seems to be a very, very kind of healthy community. Quite almost unified in a way. But yeah, other than that, it seems kind of just not too remarkable. Other than the fact that it seems that there is the infrastructure of the city seems pretty strong in the sense that there's not actually a lot of slum areas like in Odessa where there are entire districts that are just giant slums. This town really seems to lack that. Like there are poorer areas and there is poverty, but less than expected. As you kind of go on up through the kind of town square up to the center of town, basically Noble's district here is the same as it is in Odessa. It's a gated community. It takes you up to the upper trail, which just goes straight on up largely. There are a few twists and turns there. Does spiral at one point up the hill, but for the most part, it's just straight. There is you head on into the courtyard where you see the sort of castle at the top of this hill, the mount of this hill. Seems to be a combination like of sorts of like where the nobility would live, but it's also very much a military fortification in some ways. Particularly sort of the towers surrounding the castle itself. The inner parts of it seem much more habitable. You enter into the front courtyard. It seems there are quite a lot of carriages and horses parked here. A lot of them being taken away around the back. The same will be done for your horse. At which point there'll be a steward at the door tending to other guests who will very politely, upon you kind of gathering up with some other Canaanites waiting outside, will very politely apologize for the wait, and offer to take you inside.
Smile and walk in quite merrily.
It's slightly labyrinthine, the set of corridors you go through. You can see why perhaps there is a guide, but it's not so much that it's some sort of hedge maze. It's just you're new here. You might not know your way around the place.
Oh, of course.
Once you enter, you're basically just standing in front of these big kind of grand doors, which open you to the largest hall in the castle itself. At which point you are witness to a very large hall full of Canaanites. Great deal many Canaanites, at least as much as Odessa, if not maybe slightly more. Seems to be one of the quieter nights. It's not quite as busy as you'd expect, maybe because it's the fourth day. The walls are beautifully tiled with these elaborate patterns. The curtains that line the windows are made of threads of gold, and look as if they would have taken an extreme amount of skill or time to perfect. There are two doors to rather large balconies off to the side. You can even see them through the windows, or like kind of their ends outside at the windows. And at the back of the room, there are 3 thrones, most likely for the prince and his two children, and 3 stained glass windows behind each of them, on the wall behind them. One depicting a faceless figure kind of shrouded in black with a gold crown on its head. The middle one, kind of a traditional angelic figure, but without a face. Kind of hands stretched out in sort of like it's ready to embrace whoever's in front of it. And on the right side is sort of almost it's a humanoid figure and looks rather effeminate, but also has reptilian features, or kind of almost draconic features. But again, like all of these stained glass figure images depict faceless figures. They almost look like they're coming out of the glass in a way. And of course, we can't forget to mention the absolutely extravagant mosaic on the ceiling depicting the prince and his child, including Irene, at a lakeside garden. And it is the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. Oh my god, it is astonishing.
Just looks up, staring up at the thing, like, wow.
Magnificent.
Yeah, then he'll look around the court and see, does he spot anyone initially that he knows, first of all? And whoever is the first person he'll spot, he go, darling! As he's walking through. Incredibly confidently. Doesn't look like a beat in the step. Isn't like he doesn't look like he's missing a step.
Actually, 2 things you notice as a Markavian. The first one you get for free is that to you, the stained glass figures almost appear to kind of shimmer and shift in the light. Like as you kind of look to the many kind of landmarks in this room, you notice that when you look back at the stained glass, the figures almost seem to be depicting they almost seem to be in different poses every time, and they just shimmer strangely in the light. The other one, could you please roll me perception awareness?
Yes. Nothing. Nope. 2
You have a 10, so you have a success.
Okay.
The other thing, so there are two pieces of information. One is relevant to the first piece of information you got, in that the way these stained glass figures seem to shift and move in the light, it's always towards Canaanites in the room. And the way you perceive it, it's almost like rays of light, almost like these god rays seem to fall upon specific Canaanites. Doesn't seem to be any real pattern to it that you can discern. The other is a bit more strange and ominous, in that you can feel a sort of thrumming, almost in the floor itself. It's like it's a very consistent tremor. Like, just happens at very set intervals. Like almost like a metronome just beating every now and again.
He definitely makes note of that as he's walking.
It's very consistent. It's very faint though.
He just will crane his head as he's walking, like, curious. I'm assuming fuck it, he'll spot Madeleine straight away. She's probably the most recognizable.
No, she's hiding.
She's hiding.
I'll roll for it. She's hiding from Garnet. No.
You wanna hide from Garnet? Okay. Roll me.
No.
Okay, I was gonna say you're gonna roll me stealth, bitch.
No. Madeline she's talking with this lady on Chris's overlay. But at some point, well, actually, you can surprise her if you want to.
Oh, he'll boom out, Madeline, darling, you look extravagant, as he's like pushing his way through the crowd.
And Madeline will turn around, and she'll just, Garnet, it has been quite some time. It is good to see you. It is good that you could come. Please, come, join me.
Wouldn't miss this for the world, darling. As he plants 2 kisses on her cheeks, as he just, smiles over at the lady as well.
This is Anne and Scylla of Clan Cappadocia. A dear friend, I do believe this is your first night here. Please do remember to check in with the keeper as well. It is her good manners and, capability who has hosted us here. It is her doing for this lovely occasion. And she will point out the Samitsi keeper of Elysium.
Do nod. I see. I'll make sure I visitor after talking to you two lovely ladies who bow in front of the other Ancilla. Very, very, very etiquetely done.
Impeccable as always.
Well, when surrounded with such beautiful women, how could you not show the full graces of etiquette?
I would say that you are in good spirits. It has been a while since you have flattered me so.
Well, everything is just so lovely and so hypnotic, wouldn't you say? Even for idle talking, there certainly seems a buzz around this place, and, well, it would be remiss of my certain family's pretension for excitement, at least.
Quite so. Hopefully, once we are done mourning the loss of our prince.
Of course.
Then we can get to deciding who will lead Edessa in the future. Hopefully it will happen soon. And you can tell that remark was probably mostly for the Cappadocian right next to her, since it was an elder of the clan that has just cacked it.
He'll smile sympathetically at the Cappadocian as well.
She just... Yes, it is joyous. Many things happen. Hopefully soon we will be able to engage in a more prosperous and stable future compared to what the last 3 months have been? 4 months? I forget how long this has been going on.
You would forget being here. Everything is just so perfect. It's almost like a fairy tale. Grin.
Madeline smiles, looks up at the mosaic. Well, Irene does fit a princess of one of those fairy tales, at least up there.
Mm. Shame you're not up there, though, darling. You look over and grin.
Well, I cannot claim to be a child of Ulrich. And I understand why he has done this. I do not require a mosaic. It would be weird, I think. Given the fact that I have not seen my own reflection or visage for close to 80 or 90 years.
Neither have I. Or 200 now, at least.
If not your own reflection, Madeline, what would you leave in place as your own idol? Your representation?
Well, that is a good question. I think I can come with a few suggestions. A mother, always watchful. A teacher, student. I truly cannot tell you at this moment. I will have to think of it more.
Very well. I would welcome the inspiration for the thing you requested. Put something a little bit more personal.
Of course.
Of a touch.
I will give you some notes as to. I will get those soon enough. But have you been introduced? Memnon, please. This is Garnet, Ancilla of Clan Malkavian. And this is Memnon, the Losombran unit. He has arrived only a week ago? I believe it was.
Just about.
Yes, a week ago. A very new member to the court, to the city, but
A blacksmith, from what I hear, at least. Smiles.
Quite so.
You've heard right. I had the pleasure of meeting with your primogen. A very enlightened man. It was a pleasure.
Apollo is like Atlas, shouldering all the burdens of the world on his shoulders. Such is his duty, I suppose, but then again, with poor old Atlas, you never know which quite burden he shouldered the most, do you?
I would say the loss. Unless we are speaking of a person named Atlas, and not our mythological figure.
Depends, really. I suppose you have to ask him.
We all bear burdens, I suppose. The beast is stirring within all of us. And that is one burden for us all to bear, but... And, of course, Garnet, please, do take of the refreshments on offer.
Well, before I have to do that, I may go see the Keeper of Elysium. I wouldn't want to turn up and take all her drinks and food and lovely conversation without at least being polite. He'll smile and start to walk off, hands behind his back, whistling. Probably similarly towards the Keeper to be like, I am here, introduce me and all that stuff.
Ah, yes. Here's the keeper. She's dressed in the red cloak with with the staff depicted in the overlay. She does a fairly thick Italian accent. I will not attempt to try it. She sees you. Yeah, she sees you on approach.
And when he stops before, he will bow extremely deeply and go, "My lady," spreading his arms out and everything, proper French style, court style.
A new guest. You're fashionably late to proceedings, I see.
Unfortunately, the horses did need tending, my lady, and you know what troublesome beasts they can be. And I would not be but a good owner of my fine stables if I made sure my stock was at least compliant in their needs.
I'm sure one of our clan could assist you in this.
I would be most welcome for the help. We'll look up and smile. Garnet, Ancilla of Clan Malkavian, child of Lady Eleanor Montgomery of Marseille.
Do you have prestigious sire merit?
No. I know Mina does, but I just took it in terms of backgrounds,
You're too old to benefit now.
Yeah,
too independent.
exactly. Yeah, too independent.
A fine line for one such as your clan. Well, by all means, enjoy your stay here. This is a more peaceable evening, but still, as you can see, quite crowded. If you require any peace of mind, I find that the balconies tend to offer a much more insightful silence.
I shall definitely take that up. I look forward to speaking to you more when it's less crowded then. He'll smile devilishly.
Of course, please do not let me keep you. Refreshments are available. You only need ask. It should be noted there are a few servants running around with blood wine. Quite a lot if they're feeding this many canites over a period of a week.
Yeah, Jesus.
That must be a lot of Vide they've got stocked up.
Garnet will nod, impressed. Quite the stock then, my lady. Considering how long this Elysium shall be, I'm impressed.
We have our ways.
Nods, understandingly. I'm glad to see. It's such a peaceful place. You'll stand up and bow again.
You still kind of hear the same sort of thrumming as you're speaking.
You just nod and
Seems
begin
a bit
to move
more
away.
pronounced around the keeper.
Yeah, he'll stare at her a bit and kind of look at her and then nod slowly and kind of back away into the crowd, making a point to watch her and see does the beat increase anything. But otherwise, now you start to mingle with everybody.
No, yeah. It doesn't seem to. She doesn't seem to be the source of it. Your understanding, but definitely is a bit more, noticeable around her. Yes, you're able to go back and mingle with the many canites. You notice. Let's see. There are. You see pretty much all of the Primogen apart from the Salubri. Actually, the Tremere Primogen is not here this night, although I'll say that you've definitely heard he was here last night. In fact, he caused quite a stir last night.
Oh shit!
Controversial in the fact in all that the Tremere are not necessarily bad, not necessarily good, but there seemed to be an open forum last night where the elders discussed things rather publicly, and being one of the more vocal elders, the very fact that he was there caused some degree of debate. And you see that the Salubri Primogen is not here. In fact, you don't really see any Salubri that you recognize here. And there aren't that many Cappadocians.
Are there any Malkavians?
Yeah.
Wonderful. That is where Garnet makes his first maneuver towards his fellow clanmates.
I will let Evan introduce those.
While that is going on, Jean Javadin, the gangrel of Edessa, is seems to be nursing his wine. Kind of swizzles it in his mouth as if he is testing the flavor, as if he's some kind of connoisseur. But he's like, he just returns it. He returns his goblet to a servant. And he says, "Bring me something that is not piss water. You claim this to be wine. Get it out of my face." He's a very charming fellow.
Speaking of charming fellows, Gerard is going to slip into the crowd and mingle.
There are so many to mingle with. But you do see a familiar bunch of faces and in many of the La Sombre, and there's also Garnet wandering around, mingling with some of his seemingly Markavian brethren. Your Primogen is present, as are most of the Ventry.
We don't talk about him.
Mm-hmm. Shame that he does most of the talking. Yes. Markavians.
Because, the Malkavian party don't stop until somebody demontates somebody for a practical joke. Aside from that, Jean looks for Thorvald and he says, "Thorvald, come here." As Thorvald is still silent. A tragedy.
Could Memnon approach the keeper of Elysium?
Sure thing.
Well, once flying this woman, he'll make his way over there. And being without his graces, he probably doesn't quite know what to do, but he'll, if there's space to, he would just stand in front of her with his head tall and hands behind his back, and he'll say, he'll actually say in Italian the phrase, "Here you are from Tuscany."
She chuckles. She chuckles lightly. She just says, "Oh, wherever did you hear that? Yes, I am from Tuscany."
I believe one of my clanmates had mentioned it as they pointed to your post and your generosity for the Elysium.
I see. Well, is there anything about it that piques your interest?
I was interested in you being from Tuscany. If perhaps you knew another Canaanite by the name of Giuliano Orsini.
She eyes narrow a little bit, and she kind of looks upwards and off to the side as if trying to recall. I believe I may have heard of the gentleman. I don't believe we've interacted directly. I have been away from Tuscany for quite some time.
I had passed through the lands of Tuscany while I was in his company. He is my sire. I understand.
Ah. Yes, I do recall the name, demanding some degree of respect. I came to the county of Odessa some time ago with my sire. So I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to tell you too much about the current state of affairs over there. Although I do catch wind of things from time to time. My own child resides there, so...
It would be...
Does the absence of your sire concern you?
No. But perhaps, I had gone through Tuscany and it was a beautiful land. Just a compliment I wanted to pay your host.
Oh. Why, thank you very much.
And then yeah, he'll just nod and walk off, and to think this is why he has trouble talking to people.
She seems to take the compliment well enough. Yeah. A slightly derailed and then re-railed exchange comes to a fairly decisive conclusion. Irene, you approach one of the servants. You are given a small goblet of
Really needs
vitae,
to be
or
instead.
blood, rather.
Okay. She will thank the servant and yeah, just stands to the side, taking small nips from the goblet.
Yes, they're fairly busy. Goblets are being taken off them at a fairly steady rate, so they try to acknowledge your praise, but all be said and told, they don't really have that much time to accept it.
Aww.
They're
very busy.
Especially when John is calling all the drinks piss water as being a shit.
Oh yeah, no, the servants are apologizing and like trying to get him some, as he refers to, proper blood, but it's all the same to him.
He's just doing it. He's just doing it to get a rise out of the servants. He hates the city. He hates it with a passion. But unfortunately, he must suffer lives, no matter how much he dislikes it. So he's being a prick. What do you expect from the French? As
Looks for Damien. Why, I don't see anyone contesting.
I don't know.
I mean, Thorvald's doing his thing where he's watching from a distance. He's not the most I mean, he's polite, but he's not very sociable. He's a bit of a loner. When he spots his primogen drinking and protesting about the wine, he does sort of go over, and he's got his own goblet in his hand, and he'll bow to his primogen.
John goes, have you tried the refreshments here? Ridiculous. They think that this will sate the belly with such piss, such arrogant shit water. Why you do not trust someone from Tuscany to provide refreshments? At least it is better than a Ventrose drink.
Well, I can't pretend to have a very sophisticated palate. I never tasted wine, and now I cannot.
This wine, perhaps it is better that you can't, otherwise you'd be completely disappointed in its flavors and everything else. Even the blood here presented, while nourishing to a fault, is still. That's why you do not trust in Tuscany. They flavor their wines too much with unnecessary fruit.
So, the wine is the Vitae and the Elysium is with wine. Just clarification.
I very much believe so.
Yeah.
Since everyone is able to drink from it, I think.
Yeah.
Pretty much everyone.
He sort of shrugs. I'm surprised to see you here. Didn't think this would be your kind of event.
It is not, but since I am a primogen and it is important that we examine the candidates for praxis and, of course, socialization of other citizens. That is why I am here. Frankly, the sooner I can return to our domain, the better I will feel.
I must warn you. Hunters have been spotted in the woods and the wilds.
Yes, no doubt looking for easy prey, I would assume. However, they are, as humans are, easily handled if you do not be stupid.
He nods.
But for you, dear Thorald, how do you feel of this Elysium here of Timaran?
He shrugs. I'm not much for parties.
That is the right mentality to have. And he chuckles a bit in a very hearty tone.
I'm here to do my duty. As you are.
Yes. That is all that should be asked of us anyway. But I do not want you to take this as an opportunity to not see this as a way to study. Use it as a way to understand interactions of clan work, and of that of the other Canaanites of the world.
He nods, sipping from the goblet. It tastes weird to him. So,
And thus Jean's words were true. It is shit water. At least in
it's
his.
sustenance. It's sustenance. That'll do.
If only Nagasi was still around, he would be far more happy here. And Julia, well, she's being distant as always.
Thorvald looks over at the Zamisi when Jean says this. Keeping different company these days.
Perhaps. But she is a gangrel, my friend. While such fancies work for the most minute of reasons, she understands her limits.
Thorvald nods, knowing not to question his permission.
Speaking of which, Erden seems to be quite content with this drink. Perhaps it is because he is already drunk to begin with. And you see Erden. He is flirting. He's flirting with one of the servants, quite openly. So
Thorvald has a big grin on his face because he's rather fond of Erdin. Well, each man has a different taste.
yes, of that there is no doubt. He Jean looks over through the crowd of people. Looks through the crowd of people and who is fine. You must pardon me, Lord. Unfortunately, I must mingle. And he begins moving through the crowd of the.
As he goes, he says, I expect you'll see my sire. Try not to let her chill you off too much.
He
bids farewell.
He chuckles. That's actually probably the person he's going to go talk to.
Yeah, I mean, like, if it's possible, she probably has touch of frost. The whole room is a ice rink in her wake. She's probably giving Jean a icy look right now. Like, why are you talking to Thorvald, not me? So you better go.
And that he does.
Thorvald dips back into relative obscurity for the moment.
Okay.
Madeline has had a moment to just go around, mingle. When she sees Gerard, she will go over and she will just curtsy ever so slightly and just say, it is good to see you that you are a regular guest.
Indeed. If we aren't careful, you might even get used to it.
Well, I was used to you being keeper, of course. I cannot say that the two of us meeting in Elysium is a foreign concept.
Absence does make the heart grow fonder, as they say.
Quite so. So, I was wondering, this discussion last night seemed to go quite high about these hunters. You were quite direct in your plan and how you would execute it. Do you truly believe that you would be successful?
I truly believe that the less we have a direct hand in confronting them, as it seems to have not been effective so far, the better.
Well, that is true. Do you have any... Would this be before or after a new prince is found? I wonder.
Hard to say yet. So very much rides on who's in power. It could very well be that they have a different idea on how to do things.
I can only hope that the Prince Chosen will support you. If there is one thing I know about you, it is that you are quite ferocious when you have made up your mind and your course is set. What was it Caesar said? The dice have been thrown? You do not seem to back down. That is an admirable quality.
Left behind so many disappointed faces in my wake. Such as right now, I don't see the Salubri Primogen.
They seem to be keeping quite a lot to themselves. In general, I would say. Would you really want him to be here? I wonder.
I have nothing to fear from him. If he wishes to air a grievance, Elysium is the perfect time.
Well, that is true, but surely you could think of better company to keep for a enjoyable night, no?
Considering where I am, I have resigned myself to being sociable with everyone who may come. High and low, religious and non, crusader and peasant.
I am surprised. It's not what I hear from most Ventru, but... Oh, yeah.
The stakes are rather high to be petty for a week's worth of inconvenience.
Pragmatism must win out, eventually. And for those that will not, well, they tend to not hold on to whatever they have forever.
Oh, go ahead.
No, she slightly nods. She just observes you.
As the hunters will soon find out. I intend to test their mettle.
Hmm. Hmm.
Either they will be victorious, or their zealotry will drive them to the grave, or they will be broken.
I hope so that these people will leave our city. So many things are still to be stabilized.
As Gerard talks of zealotry driving someone to the ground, man who takes that with pride, actually, kind of appears, I would say, behind the both of you. While it is true that zealotry can bring one to the ground, as you say, friend Gerard, but zealotry is a passion that can arm even the most loneliest of men to become warriors, because they understand that it is the zealotry that brings forth God's gifts and power. So, in the sense of these hunters, well, one must never underestimate, after all.
And yet, even on the back of my suggestion, all I seem to hear is underestimation of the effectiveness of a mob.
Underestimation or caution. And certain times these two can be quite hard to differentiate, I would say. Oh, my. And she would turn to the Bruja who has just arrived, and she will curtsy deeply. I do not believe we have been formally introduced. Seneschal Madeleine of Timaran. It is a joyous occasion to welcome you to this fine establishment. I do believe that you have been here for not the... Today is not your first night, but I must have missed you.
That is perfectly all right, my dear. My name is the Imam Al-Khatib Al-Hube, who speaks from the book of God's love. I am quite, fascinated with Timaran. The people here are very loving people, and the Elysium itself is quite a sight to behold. It would seem that the La Sombra, in anything that they wish to accomplish, they understand that one must go big or go home. And he kind of directs that at Gerard.
Gerard will simply smile and say, I do believe you have me at a disadvantage. We have not met, and yet you know who I am. I am Gerard, the second of his name of Tours, Ansel of Clan Ventrue, as you must well know.
He bows his head somewhat theatrically, perhaps too theatrically, almost mockingly. And I am Imam Al-Khatib Al-Hube. You are, as you have said, Tours Ventrue. Why is it that I could already know it when I came over here? Was it perhaps the regal stance of which you present yourself? Is it perhaps the rugged features of a man who understands to lead? Or maybe it was perhaps the feeling of inadequacy, of hearing another person's words that disagree with you. He's throwing that shade. You know, give a fuck.
Gerard smiles. Well, I have spent several centuries of crusading, and I can tell you, I have rubbed shoulders with the greatest bishops and knights, imams, and riders. Perhaps charisma without substance simply makes one a charlatan rather than an inspired zealot.
Perhaps, but is that not what the Crusaders themselves, their zealotry, if I remember, caused quite a lot of disturbances even among the Christian communities that have existed here before your European Christianity descended.
And yet, we still remain.
And yet, the Imams and Saladins still remain as well, don't they?
Perhaps they do. I know better than anyone that adaptation is necessary to survive these modern nights. I accept all faiths.
Hmm. And he looks to Madeline. Now imagine that a Ventru who wishes to adapt and understand. In such a case, then perhaps the next centuries or so will be peaceful for once.
Your art is many things. I have spent time with him in Elysia and Edessa for quite some time. A pragmatist.
Ah, yes, a pragmatist. He kind of gives you a fairly non appreciative smile. Perhaps even worse than one who worships pagan gods.
I see. Well, you are welcome, my friend, anytime to come and discuss your views with me in my home. You are welcome.
I will gladly take you upon that offer, Gerard of the Second of Tours. If friendship is to grow for Edessa's clans, that is the best option.
Out of character, I just gotta know one thing. Did he just call Madeline a pagan? Or was that not directed towards her?
No, not directed towards her. It was
Okay.
more of Erden. It was more of like
Okay,
the openly pagan kindred.
Fair enough. Just checking.
There are pagans in the room, like this one.
Holding on to the past is a very unwise thing to do these nights. So much uncertainty ahead. I find it best not to muddy the water with rabble-rousing. That way everyone can see clearly the way forward, the correct way forward.
That does sound rather eloquent in its own manner. But also, what is the word? Boring. A man was not meant to simply feel such things. A man was meant to express himself, express his desires, his emotions. Without them, he is no better than the very beasts that he claims to control. And frankly, I would think a Ventru would see himself better than. But to each their own. I am not one to denounce such philosophies if that is his desire.
I do not know you very well, my friend. However, I would certainly believe you to be an outsider to all of this if you have any idea the trials and tribulations our fair city has gone through in the last months. You would know that none of us wish for any more excitement. Not one of us.
He chuckles and he goes, maybe so. I feel that would be perhaps that would be the right position to have, at least until the thought of praxis is completed. And from there, well, let us drink to that prince, whoever he may be.
And hope that he is not bringing a wagon of snake oil with him.
Speaking of snake oil, oh yes, I believe the best is being saved for last. If I recall correctly, those who wish to claim praxis shall have their time in the moonlight on Saturday. Grand finale to a Grand Elysium, I suppose.
That is how all Elysiums should finish. Should they not? A grand finale, so that we can remember and that we can tell the children of the grandness of such an Elysium. So when it is their turn to experience it, they are not underwhelmed.
Perhaps, although I must admit, I'm a more straightforward man. I believed it would have perhaps been better to settle such things immediately on the first day of Elysium rather than its last, so that the concerns and issues we face may be dealt with more readily. And in a more concrete fashion, as it stands, all who wish to resolve the issues of the city may only make pledges. They may provide evidence that such claims will be met. But he looks up as if he's recalling something. But Arthur, fellow, the old man, did have a kernel of truth to his very much poorly constructed rambling, in that it is still just all a promise, and promises can be broken. May as much as I may disregard the manner in which he said it,
If a man breaks his promise, then it is imperative to his honor then to fix it. If he decides to forgo it, then he is then worse than a breaker of promises. He is then a coward. And a coward dies far too much than to a man who seeks his redemption and dies in the process.
needless to say, such a premise has been focused on so much by our kind that entire the roads of ethics have been constructed around it.
I suppose it is a good thing, after all, that the issue of praxis has been set to the final day. Our friend here, the Imam, would certainly have spiraled into a pool of anticlimax were it the other way around. Gentlemen, your Elysium is wonderful. I'm going to excuse myself for a moment. Then he will bow to both and nod to Madeline and will wander away.
Madeline just sees Gerard off, and she will just say, "Well, gentlemen, it is soon time, I suppose."
Well then, I believe I should too excuse myself. Apologies for the interruption.
Oh, not at
In any
all.
case,
My privilege.
Stagtib, I do hope that this Elysium is to your liking and that the climax, as it were, suits your tastes. I have no doubt I'll be seeing you on that evening.
And I too, my friend. May God keep you and your clan safe and strong in these tumultuous nights.
Likewise. Lady Seneschal. We'll bow to the Seneschal.
She will bow or curtsy to say, "My privilege."
He will take his leave.
Tell me, you are an imam. You have been this for your entire life, or both mortal and immortal?
He, as he kind of moves to kind of address you fully, he goes, much like the Prophet Muhammad, I did not start originally as an imam. I was once a simple man born of some repute and resources, but I did not find such love of these things. There was there was a feeling, a yearning, which I needed to call. So I traveled. I traveled from my small place in the world. I traveled to Mecca, and I spoke with many of the imams. They themselves, who their imams, their religious leaders who had spoken to the Prophet himself. And what I saw from there was that even they could not understand the Prophet's words. They interpreted too much. They twisted too easily under pressures of kings and other such. And so I traveled again. I traveled to Egypt and looked upon the various pharaohs there. This was where my sire had embraced me. My sire, the man known as Achten, if I recall his name then. He was the one who instructed me in the ways of his philosophy. That men chosen by God are truly the effective ones, the effective leaders. And that those who attempted too much to distract from his word were not. And I took those to heart. And when I returned to this land, so that I wish to spread it to the people that would listen, in the hopes that all people can become closer to God and His immaculate grace and love.
A man of conviction. I wonder. I wonder what role you will take on this Saturday.
If God believes me to be fit, then the title of prince. If not, then perhaps a worthy advisor to this new prince, so that Edessa can rebuild and become the beautiful city that it was once.
Quite so. It is going to be an eventful evening regardless.
Yes, very much so.
But please enjoy the rest of the evening. I must see to my duties.
Miss, may God keep you safe in these nights ahead.
And Madeline heads off.
And I think there we can end our scene. Thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. We'll see you all next time.